This is Weston Manor in Oxfordshire. It's originally the home of 11th century monks. It's now a thriving hotel called Weston Manor, and it manages to combine the power of history with the panelled rooms. It's even got its own ghost called Maud. It has everything you would expect of a period house, and yet at the same time offers modern facilities without which it wouldn't hold its customers. The panelling, of course, wasn't original. It was added somewhat later, and by all accounts the ghost was really a local lady who came to entertain the monks. And what's this got to do with motor cars? Well, we're expecting much the same of our current crop of sporting pedigreed motor cars. There are lots of pieces of history woven into them and lots of criticisms because there is. Come and see for yourself what we have through this arch. Here we have two motoring legends, both trading heavily on their pasts and both attacking the modern marketplace ferociously. There's a difference. It's about £40,000, and if you're a fan of one or the other, you feel pretty strongly. The one thing is certain, that until now, these two cars haven't been shown together very often because they do look so similar. In the blue corner, we have the XK8, Jaguar's new glamorous car, complete with its brand new V8 engine and carrying those famous XK initials that is part of its history. And in the silver corner, we have the DB7, the seriously glamorous, best-selling Aston Martin, complete with its 3.2 supercharged engine, equally well trading on its DB past. Considering the £40,000 price difference between them, they're not really rivals, and yet they are in exactly the same market. Which is best? Which would suit you if you were dreaming? In 1961, Jaguar launched the E-Type in Geneva, the motor show. And with all the suitable show business finesse, they did the same thing again in 1996 with the XK8. The basic bestseller that they have achieved in sports car terms until this car was the XKS, and the XKS platform was central to the design of this car. They have provided a beautiful new body and a lot of sex on the road, but it is genuinely a grand tourer. It dismisses itself as a sports car because it has a big boot, a boot that you can take all your weekend stuff away in as well as your other half. The inside is everything you would expect a Jaguar to be. It is beautifully fitted, which is a change because some of their previous cars fell apart. Their electrics used to be bad news. Now, I'm pleased to say, the inside is lovely. There are all the features you expect. There's the veneer, there is the leather trim, there is the carpet. Some of it's a little on the tacky side. Steering wheel is a good case in point. There's no real need for part wood, part leather, unless it wants to look good in a brochure. The travelling in this machine is splendid. It is extremely comfortable. The suspension has set itself up as a touring car, and really, although it looks like an outright sports car, it is a very grand means of transport. The pedals are nicely spaced. There is a huge rest for your left foot for these long journeys where you don't need to be doing a lot. There is excellent audio facilities with controls on the wheels, so you can move your audio up and down and answer your phone and play all the games that Jaguar drivers like to. The air conditioning is clean and simple. It's very easy to dial up and down with just one knob. It's a fully automatic box, 5-speed, and to many people that's a shame with Jaguars. But in fact, their J gate gives you the option of either. In manual form, it's not really as fast or as enjoyable as a manual box could be, but in truth, kept in sport, it really is a lively drive without having to be busy. Needless to say, there are a lot of buttons and dials and all the things you'd expect. There is one which as yet I haven't figured out. It's called Valet, and it's here. I haven't had a drink served yet. And in the rear, there is at least a token space. I have driven the automatic convertible, and there you don't have that space facility because it's all hood. But right now in the coupe, you do have usable space, whether it's for suitcases or those tiny children with no legs. And under this bonnet, we have the really serious news. This is Jaguar's beautiful new V8 engine. It creates 290 brake horse. It's a 4-litre machine, and it is silky smooth. Just come and see. Now, driving this Jaguar is definitely an experience. You get the feeling that it's a sports car. You have the long bonnet, you have the big sexy wheel, all the instrumentation you want around you, and yet, in fact, the gear changes are so smooth that you really don't know which gear you're in. It just glides. If you want fun, then clearly you've got to behave yourself, because these cars are not really for the road at full speed. But if you do drop it down a cog or two, and you do start listening to this lovely V8 that is the first Jaguars have actually created, then you can understand why the sporting enthusiast is celebrating what was originally going to be called the F-Type. It in fact has in midsection quite a lot that it borrows from the race car, the XK8 13, which actually never made it into production. It's a very smooth package, and it is wonderful for long road journeys where you don't want to concentrate all the time on driving, but when you do want a bit of fun and you drop it down a gig, you can push it. And the revs climb, and it's fun suddenly. So that was Jaguar's offering, and this is the Aston Martin. Yes, it's based on the same platform. It was still an XKS in its nucleus, but this was designed by Ian Cullen, who had a DB4 in the design studio with him throughout for his own inspiration and to make sure that he perpetrated all the same things. These lines on the sides, which were on those cars, the headlight fairings, all the same styling codes. The style is beautiful, it's slippery, it's very, very fast. But it does trade on the past. Its grand touring credentials are adequate. They're not as good as the Jaguars, but they are weekend equipment at the very least. And inside, well, they've managed most of the tradition, along with a few little extras like veneer, which not too many Aston Martin fans seem to remember having. The control panel is functional and it's traditional. They're lovely, beautiful dials. They look and feel like Aston Martin, and they tell you exactly what you want to know. Some of the other information's a little more confused. The radio and cassette deck are definitely not belonging in this car. I can't get a cassette in if you're in top gear or you're in first gear, and on a motorway that's not ideal. The door handles are definitely a surprise. Anyone who owns a Mazda MX-5 will recognize them instantly. They don't belong on an £80,000 Grand Tourer. There is the expected coin holder, which most executive cars seem to have. This one is very beautiful, and it has a cover, and when you pull it back, you can find all kinds of change in there from everyone before you, because you can't get it out. As to the pedals, they're a serious shock. There is no rest on the left for these long journeys you're apparently able to do in this car, and the throttle, which inevitably is going to be somewhere near the floor, if you are in trouble, you can't get it past the brake. They've taken the corner off it to try and assist you, but it's a very long way up and over, and every time you catch it. And under here is definitely Aston's pride and joy. It is a 3.2 supercharged engine. It's twin cam. It's built by Tom Walkinshaw. It is a real flyer. It's definitely what you're buying. Now this one may cost an awful lot more money than the opposition, but when you actually start stirring these gears, you know why. The supercharged engine develops over 300 brake horse, and it's there all the way through. It doesn't have the excitement of a turbocharger which will suddenly give you a belt in the back. It's there right the way through. And if you love motoring, and if you've ever dreamt of an Aston Martin, this is definitely the one. I've driven this car and the Jaguar for 1,000 miles for next year's Stanley Classic Car Yearbook, trying to judge whether they genuinely are future classics or whether they're just trading on the past. It seems, having had both of them for a serious period now, that both of them have succeeded, just as that hotel has, in encompassing the ghosts from the past and the best of what is in the future. It really is a delight to drive a car like this, and thank God Ford have put the money into both of them. So, which one would you buy? There's definitely horses for courses. There are followers of Jaguar and followers of Aston Martin, and those people will always be sure which they would buy. The truth is that these are both grand touring cars. The Jaguar will undoubtedly take you from A to B in great style and great comfort, and you'll arrive the other end quickly and safely. The Aston Martin, truthfully, is flawed. It will do the same thing. It will be a little bit more rugged about getting you there. The gearbox is definitely a bit of a struggle. The pedals are a bit of a maze. But if your passion is for driving hard and the corners invite you, then in the end it's going to be the Aston. There isn't a clear winner between these two because they are genuinely designed for different markets. A very shrewd Ford Motor Company saw that both these companies needed more money than they could individually justify. They've used a basic idea and taken it in two different directions. And it's the Ford Motor Company who are in the end the winners, because they have found in the Aston Martin DB7 their all-time best-selling Aston. It's a younger age group than the other Aston drivers, and therefore they will keep them. And with Jaguar, they have done exactly the same thing. The Jaguar is now the best-selling Jaguar sports car of all time, and both these are new. Just like Maud, who haunts this place, so the histories of Aston Martin and Jaguar are haunting these two models. We don't mind that any more than we mind the ghost or the panel room. We enjoy those elements of the past, as long as the service and what you get from them is good. And with both these two, Ford have definitely found winners.